Janet, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you.
So like I mentioned earlier, it's been really weak earnings across the board, Guinness, Nigerian breweries, international breweries. So many will point to the economy, but are there any other factors that you think are really responsible for this weak performance so far?
Okay, so I mean, when you look at the result released, so we're seeing weak, growth, particularly even from the top line. You're talking of revenues, quite slow growth for the likes of Guinness. I mean, flattish growth for Nigerian breweries as well. Guinness, that's for the H2 result that was released. IB as well, but surprisingly, IB has recorded decline in revenue. So you're looking at it from that aspect. But then when you go further down the line in earnings, you're looking at the OPEX as well. OPEX has also recorded some significant contractions. We're having some issues with finance cost. But the major theme really for the brewery sector, for the brewery space right now, is intense competition. All of that is coming from who to increase price first. So you're coming from the likes of casting back to around 2018, late 2018, where we had some of the competitors, particularly MB and Guinness, willing to actually increase price given the increase in excise duty that was expected. But IB was holding back on that as well. But then we had to see, so because of that, they increased prices, losing market share to IB, which held their prices where they were at the time. So that actually affected market share for MB Guinness as well. But then going down the line, you're having where VAT is coming in. You're having more pressure on excise duties as well. So it's more or less like margins are constrained. And then IB has come up to say, okay, yes, we're actually willing to increase prices. But I mean, what we've seen is was slated for February, that has not come in yet. But we've seen the likes of NB actually go ahead with.
So it's sounding like a price war, and typically in that environment, you expect that the more efficient producer would win. So in your view, looking across the board, Nigerian breweries, Guinness, and international breweries, which would you be betting would emerge better, given what is happening right now? Okay,
so if you look at the full year result release, you probably want to just, you want to mark the result from the gross margins area, so you're looking at NB, for instance, who was able to still protect their margins, they were able to keep their margins protected, relatively flat in FY 2019. For IB, on the other hand, so even, for IB, on the other hand, we've actually seen that they recorded contraction in their margins. That was majorly because, like I mentioned, we saw a decline in revenues, and then, cost wasn't able to match with that. So we've seen better efficiency from Nigerian breweries in that respect.
Right, but overall, it's still in the context of a weak economy. Slow growth is projected for this year, as we saw last year. Overall, how do you see things evolving for the brewers? Do you think it's going to be more of the same in terms of weak numbers? Because potentially, if they were to increase the prices, demand could suffer there.
Yes, exactly. But then, it's also a sector where, there's you want to question how elastic that particular sector is, But I believe the key aspect, like I mentioned, is the pricing. So if we should see international breweries go ahead with increasing prices, and then, that should actually just boost, make it a fair play for all of the other competition, for other players in the market, because like I mentioned, there's restriction on how their margins can improve. But interesting enough, when we have to assess the result that has been seen, we've seen IB actually take more of that, they've taken more of the beat in terms of margins because, they actually just constrained on that leg. So if we can see IB actually go ahead increasing their prices and then makes it a fairer play for other players in that sector. But to your question, really, you can't take out, the impact that the economy has on, consumption and the likes. But then, it's almost as if you're looking at the entire brewery sector. So, at least if everybody is going along the same route or going along the same path for prices, we could see that, play or fare well for
certainly a tough market, but thank you so much for sharing your perspective today. Janet Ogunkoya, research analyst at ARM Securities.